Welcome to Wither Team, a Black Magical podcast for Black Magical stories.
Hi everyone, it's Bayana, Robyn, and Porshèa embarking on a journey through the many fantasy stories written by and about Black people. Currently, we're reading Amari and the Despicable Wonders by B.B. Alston. Today, we're discussing chapters 28 through 30.
First, previously on Wizard Team, Amari and her friends are captured by Nightwalkers, and Amari is able to use her wits to get info from Dylan, and then the connections that she and her friends have made with other unwanteds to escape from the Nightwalkers. They then go and decide to use Director Van Helsing's computer to figure out some information. He catches them but is feeling some kind of emotion about his kids. It's not really clear what the emotion is, but he's feeling things, and tells them where to find the apprentice, or Moreau's apprentice, who knows where the wonders are, which is in the Sightless Depths. So then we go to the Sightless Depths, which are horrible and a failure of
Human rights
society.
violations everywhere.
Yes,
human rights violations, supernatural rights violations. Just everything's terrible.
Being violation.
Moral
there is bad.
The Sightless Depths, and the thing that you cannot see is morality.
Right. Bars. So yeah, and then our friends get trapped. Amari and her friends get trapped in the Sightless Depths, but then Elsie goes full dragon to light the way and sacrifices herself for them to escape. And then that's where we end, because B.B. Alston is really mean.
Rude.
Was very rude. So I just need y'all to know that I went through it reading this last week. I'm going through it right now because March Madness is stupid and I don't like it. And we're about to continue to go through it. Eventually we'll reach the other side, light at the end of the tunnel, some such, but
sort of.
Oh man.
We're about to see some light right now. In the summary.
This is true. This is there is light. So LCV Dragon's fire went out and Amari jumps out the cage to try to find Elsie and not leave her. No one left behind in the Sightless Depths. And as she's doing that with no plan, besides get my bestie, Jaden and Laura jump out after her, and they are grappling in the dark, trying to figure out, one, what's touching them, what's coming after them, where they're at, who's that? That must be Jaden. Is that Laura? What is that? Don't touch me. You're furry. And then Peekaboo is like, what's going on? And I don't know if he shows up. Does he nap in like a pocket dimension? I just feel like he's like in Jaden's pockets.
Mm-hmm.
But I also feel like he went home and took a nap. Like, I don't really know. We don't really know where Peekaboo was, but he pops up and he's like, yo, what's going on? And they're like, danger, Peekaboo, danger is going on. So Peekaboo, this part is like amazing because of how it works out, but also kind of terrifying to think about. Peekaboo calls on all of the ghosts who died in the Sightless Depths to rise up and demand a haunted havoc. So think about, we just like our last episode and also like the recap of what we talked about in the Sightless Depths. Like, we don't know how they get in food. There's no like actual cells, so they're just able to like roam. They all swarm the like apprentice, right, to do Lord knows what, and then they swarmed Elsie, like, and then like the goblins are like, ooh, smells delicious, the fear and the despair and all of this stuff. So like, think about how many people have lost their lives in the Sightless Depths. Not even people, beings, right? So how many ghosts that is to call upon. Terrifying. So then all of these ghosts start to swarm around the sightless depths, but they're also giving off enough light. Like Peekaboo balloons, and then he's giving off this like red glow light, and it's able to give off enough light for Lara to run and grab Elsie. So Lara not only has super speed but super strength, which I was like very grateful for here, because Elsie has not, she's like still partially in dragon form, like she's got all of these scales and stuff, so I'm assuming she's a healthy weight. And she's unconscious, so she's a dead weight. And so Jaden and Amari get back into the elevator. Lara jumps in after them with Elsie, and then they get back up, or they use the lift to get back out of the sightless steps. And then the guard is like, oh, they're like, open up, let us out. And the guard is like, nah, you caused too much of a ruckus.
Mm-mm.
And you're not supposed to make it back here at all. So the Goblin King is on his way, and then they'll probably decide that you have to go back to the sightless depths as prisoners. And Amari's like, no, sir, no, sir, no, sirree, Bob, and pulls the sightless key out because she got it back from the apprentice, and asks it to take them to a safe place where Elsie can recover. And then they end up in this like tropical place. They find out it's the Wandering Owls, and they meet Anansi and Arachne. And Arachne takes Jaden, Lara, and Elsie to these healing springs, while Anansi takes Amari into this temple and shows her all of her possible futures. Amari then finds out that Dylan is like this like black, so when she's looking at all of these threads, because all of the possible futures are like shown in like kind of spider silk thread, she sees that there's this like darkness, and that is like the threat of Dylan hanging over all of these lives. And then she sees her meeting Dylan, she sees herself finding out that she's a magician, Dylan telling her what that means, fighting Dylan, right? But then as she continues to follow her life thread, she sees herself using the nameless knife to save everyone, but then the thread ends. And so she asks Anansi if this means that she will die, and if the only future where everyone survives is the one in which she dies. And they're like, yeah, looks like maybe. But Amari rejects that, and she vows to find another way to stop Dylan and to live. And I just think it was very much giving Endgame and Doctor Strange, like holding up that one to, or that's not Endgame. Is that Endgame? Or is that Infinity War? Endgame. When Doctor Strange holds up that number one to
it's
Stark.
Infinity War.
It's
Infinity War.
Oh,
for Doctor Strange to hold up his one finger? That's Infinity War.
That's what this reminded me of. And Anansi is Doctor Strange, and Amari is Iron Man. The sightless steps, straight to jail. Everyone.
They're already there.
What do you mean? When they get up,
they're in the bad place.
When they get out of there, that you did not help them. You gave them nothing to get out of there. He's like, oh, you weren't supposed to come back.
They're just like fresh meat.
The fact that you came back means that you broke some laws, so we're gonna send you back. What do you mean?
So I think one, it does like raise the question again that you had last episode about like, what are the sightless depths for? Because it feels like the Goblin King needs the suffering or something for some particular reason. Like, because why does it matter so much that whoever enters can never escape? Regardless of, like, it seems like the Bureau uses it as like a prison, like a punishment for criminals, but like, or people who commit crimes. But the Goblin King, it doesn't seem like he cares who's in there. So then it makes me think that it's less about, like, at least on the Goblin King side, it's not so much about like, it's not a jail so much as holding, I don't know, something else.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is that I think Amari and her friends are now fugitives from the Kingdom of Hobgoblins, so I'm wondering how that's gonna play out in future books. Like, yeah, I would expect to see the Goblin King again because we haven't actually seen him. So to see him, I guess.
I hope not. God, I hope not. I feel like they have to be eating them.
Maybe, yeah.
It's a dinnery type. They're eating their life force. They're eating
Something's being eaten or consumed.
Something is being consumed.
Yeah.
Because this is crazy.
It is ridiculous.
What do you like? You weren't supposed to make it out,
Right.
and therefore we're gonna send you back.
Doesn't make
And
sense.
also that you caused a ruckus. Like, what do you mean? They're in a cave.
They're not going to
underground.
escape, so why does it matter?
And like
Right.
who? But also like just be real. You never expected for them to come out. You didn't want them to. This is probably the first time in the history of the Sightless Depths that you've ever sent someone down there and they came back up. And that's what the ruckus is. Like everything else on a regular basis, y'all have prisoners down there doing everything. But
Oh, yeah.
because you had people who were not supposed to be prisoners go down there and then come back up, now that's the problem.
That's the prison jailable offense is escaping jail.
Yeah.
When you weren't
even though you're not supposed to be a prisoner.
Right.
Because also, we can't forget that Dylan did escape.
Yeah. But he didn't escape
and
through
took
the
other
visitor's
people out
entrance.
with him.
Yeah.
And he came back and got more people, so
seriously.
I think he got the other magicians from the
Blackstone.
From Blackstone. I don't think they were
I would hope.
I don't think they were in the Sightless Depths. I think it was only Dude. Because we come when we see Dylan in the next chapter.
He's like, I'll never go back.
Never again. And valid.
But it was Dylan. Here's the thing. Dylan does not strike me as the leader, the leader that goes and does the battle. Like, you know how like there's like monarchs, like whenever there's a battle and they're like, I'll be with my horse at the bridge at the top where I can see everything. He gives me a little bit of Joffrey Baratheon.
I wouldn't necessarily classify it as Joffrey. Like I think that he in the battles that we've seen, like he hasn't been there, but it's more because he has it's usually because it's a distraction. Right. Like I feel like he's smarter than Joffrey, I think is why he doesn't get like he's spoiled in that way, but like if he's not there, it's because he's somewhere else. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't think that he would be, if he had any other priorities, I just don't think he's gonna be like, I need y'all to see me help you get out. Like he's like, no, tell Cersei it was me. I'm gonna actually be over here doing this other thing. Trying to find the lens or whatever.
He's standing in front of a map moving the puzzle pieces, but not actually on the battlefield.
Definitely.
Also need to like mention Amari thanks Lara for not leaving, and Lara and Jaden were both just like, I don't know, man, you jump, we jump.
Yeah.
And like this deepening of like the squad and like what they've been through and what they're going to like continue to go through.
Yeah.
Trauma.
But like the fact that it was like I think that these like next chapters here like really have Amari thinking about like what it means to like worry about people and like feel responsible for and to people in a way that she hasn't really thought about before. I mean a little bit with like Elsie in The Great Game, but that's like the very end. That's actually kind of the start of this book, right? So it's like that feeling of kind of being like I think it's also like this guilt because in her brain, in her mind, they left Lara in the Magical Congress with the time freeze. And so kind of thinking that like Lara might do the same thing, like, and not even being like upset that she would, right? Because like the Sightless Depths were no joke. Like she was just like, I made a crazy decision. Thank you for not leaving me because that allowed us to like, get out, everyone get out. But like, I think that is really starting to weigh on her in a way that we'll see more, but also like, and we'll get to in this chapter too, but also like feeling, I don't think that she yet feels like she can share this burden, but I feel as a reader, this like the strengthening of like the group, and they're all sharing this burden. They're all like doing what they can, and they all bring certain things to like save the world, basically. And this is like furthered along because when they get to the Wandering Owls, Jaden takes Amari to go explore while Lara is looking after Elsie, who's still unconscious. And there's like this moment where Amari is like, oh, they're like, their friendship might have frayed, but there's still like deep care and love between Lara and Elsie there on both sides. But then also Jaden being like, I needed to check in on you because like I never saw myself as a hero. People never saw me as a hero. They saw me as a thug, and I started to think of myself in the same way. And you're the reason that like I now think that I'm capable of everything. Also, this is a very cute Jaden Amari moment in which he says something like, "You're special to me," or "You matter to me," or something like that. "I'm worried about you." I forget the exact wording, but it was very, very cute, and our hearts filled with love. The blossomings of a puppy love, and so it just is like this chapter to me is like this strengthening of the squad, and I think that Amari does pull strength from them and knows that like they believe in her, but I'm hoping that this is also when she starts to kind of can also believe in them. I don't think it happens, but like that's what I want for her.
Yeah.
To share the sharing of burdens.
Yeah. I think she will get there. I think it's just not for
I think so too.
book.
Yeah. I think by the end of Amari's journey, we will get to that place. Another thing is like I pulled these two quotes. So Amari is talking to Lara and says like she first she asks Lara if she regrets going with her, and Lara's like, "Nah, man, this is what we signed up for." Like, and also like a little sneak peek into like how much Lara believes in like being a junior agent. And it's not just like who her dad is and the Van Helsings, but she really believes in that kind of mission. And like it says something like mission first. But Amari says like, I've never felt this scared. And I think I get it now. Quentin didn't want to have to choose between saving me or saving the world. I thought that was so weak because of course you choose to save the world. Only I conveniently ignored the fact that I didn't. I handed Dylan the crown because I couldn't stand to lose Elsie, and now the world has to pay the price for that. And then Laura's like, I couldn't imagine making that choice. And she's like, and even then you're better than me because I'd make the same choice. Like, and so she is feeling, and I think it leads to like her decisions later on that like her attachments to them are a weakness a little bit.
Well, see, I don't know if she thinks of it as a weakness necessarily.
Or not a
like,
weakness,
not in like the traditional sense of like having friends is weak. You know what I mean? But maybe more in the sense of like
a complication.
Yeah,
maybe is a better word.
Yeah.
Something to be exploited. Something that like she feels vulnerable to like Dylan / the villains or whatever for being able to play off of her like emotions and like connection to another person. So Elsie,
yeah, because like when she says like I chose to save Elsie, I couldn't stand to lose Elsie, and I think she also knows that like Dylan would not hesitate to get what he wants and sacrifice Amari or anyone, right? And it's really like interesting thing too that you see a lot in these kinds of stories where the hero kind of compares themselves to the villain and finds like flaws in in that, and like what you were saying, Porshèa, about like having these vulnerabilities, but it's like not having those vulnerabilities is also kind of what makes the villain a villain, right? Like if you didn't pause or hesitate or feel torn between quote unquote saving the world or saving your friends, then I don't know if you could consider yourself a hero. Like I think anyone who kind of wants to wear that cape, who wants to be in that hero role, would always reckon with that. And then finally, the thought about Amari finding out that to use the knife means that she will die, and then rejecting that outcome is, but then also like spoiler heavy podcast, knowing that like, no, that outcome is inevitable.
And also still being afraid of that too. Like I think she's like, no, I'm gonna make it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna, won't be my fate. But then immediately in the next one, she's like spiraling. And that makes sense.
Yeah. And then it's also like, it's not your fate, but it's gonna be someone's fate.
My notes were basically like, yeah, Magnus, thank you. But also I hate all of this. Fantastic.
All of it.
This is a message from sponsor Intuit TurboTax. Taxes was getting frustrated by your forms. Now, Taxes is uploading your forms with a snap, and a TurboTax expert will do your taxes for you. One who's backed by the latest tech, which cross-checks millions of data points for absolute accuracy, all of which makes it easy for you to get the most money back, guaranteed. Get an expert now at TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live Full Service. See guaranteed details at TurboTax.com/guarantees.
Here on Wizard Team, it's no surprise that we love books. We also love supporting the independent bookstores.
With our bookshop affiliate link, you can not only get all the books on your TBR, but you can support indie bookstores and B&C at the same time.
And if you're not sure what you want, that ain't no problem. Check out our The Plot Thickens list full of recommendations from none other than Porshèa herself.
Head to www.bookshop.org/shop/BlackNerdsCreate to treat your shelves.
Treat your shelves.
Oh, that's nice. That's clever.
Oh my goodness.
That's clever.
So good, so good, so good.
Just in and so good. Thousands of spring finds up to 70% off are at Nordstrom Rack stores now. And that means thousands of fresh reasons to rack.
How did I not know Rack has Adidas?
Vince, Calvin Klein, Rag & Bone?
Obsessed. Why do we rack? For the hottest deals.
Save on Madewell, Kate Spade New York, Sam Edelman, Joe's, and more. Great brands, great prices. That's why you rack.
Okay, so chapter 29. So again, Amari's outside reeling, and but Elsie has fully recovered, so she runs out to hug her, and then kind of like notices that her aura is still blue. She's like, I thought you were worried about me, but it seems like you're still worried about something else. And Amari doesn't really want to explain what she's just heard, so she's more like, we gotta move on to finding the wonders. But Lara makes her stop and tell them about the conversation she had with the spiders. She fudges the truth a little bit so that her friends won't worry, and then they head back to Lara's house to use the computer to figure out where the coordinates they got lead to. The storm in Atlanta has gotten much worse, and when they get to Lara's computer, they find a series of red alerts evacuating junior agents and non-agents from the Bureau and calling in all senior agents for a last stand. The only good news is that the storm doesn't show any signs of anti-magic, which means that there's still time to find the wonders before Dylan. And then once they find where the coordinates lead, they use a transporter to get to the hideout, which is a crumbling well that only responds to born magicians. Amari and Lara head down into the hideout, avoiding the hexes that are specifically created to keep non-born magicians out. And then down at the bottom, they find a workshop that's filled with books, a forge, half-finished devices, and 3 wonders: the nameless knife, some kind of horn, and the lens of increase. So while Amari and Lara are learning more about the curses and workarounds for some of the wonders, Lucas appears. Amari is relieved to see him, but then Lara is rightfully suspicious because it turns out that Dylan has been forcing Lucas to track them to find the wonders by threatening Hannah. Dylan does like a mini villain splain and then is like ready to attack, but his magic triggers these cackling illusions of Moreau. And that's where the chapter leads off or ends. So yeah, I feel like my first point is kind of it kind of goes off of what we were just talking about, and like Amari kind of not telling her friends the truth. And also she's back to not really taking the time to rest. Like the other three were able to like go into the rejuvenating springs and like get their kind of aches healed and just feeling more energetic. And she's just like, we don't have time for that. Or I don't have time for that.
I really wanted Lara to bodily pick that child up and throw her in the water.
And throw her into the pool.
I just really wanted
it. It just takes 1 second here.
Yeah.
Right? Like we had time for everyone else to do it. You have time to do it. Like
and also knowing that like Dylan was actually waiting on them to find it, they actually did have time.
They were on their own timetable.
Yeah, but I also get it in the sense of like Amari, again, she just found this thing out, she's reeling, she feels like this needs to end, we need to just like get it done. And then again, not really telling them the truth. She just is like, yeah, I think she tells them that like what she was told or what she saw was that she specifically has to be the one to defeat Dylan. And so she's just like, I'm feeling a lot of pressure, which is like, even if that was the truth, yeah, it's understandable. But yeah, she's just not, she doesn't want them to worry. She doesn't want to like really come to terms with it. I think she also doesn't want to say it out loud, which is fair as well. If it's like, no, I'm gonna find a way to fix it. But in a way, it's like she's kind of understanding Quentin a little too much in the sense of like, yeah, like he did have those things. He also had some other issues that y'all need to talk through. But mostly, like, you know how you felt when he didn't tell you those things, or when he, you know, when he didn't really give you a choice on what to do. And this whole time you've been giving your friends choices, and they've made the choice to follow you, in which case you shouldn't take away their like agency to want to support you and like save the world in their own right.
Also, I want to point out too the like fact that one, he didn't give her a choice and then she did it anyway.
Right.
Which is like what, you know what I mean?
That's
with like less with less information, right? To make like a, you know, but then also like to recognize like the value that she would have brought to Quentin, and she did bring to Quentin and the supernatural world, and like the fact that like her friends can also bring value and can also like, you know, your best friend is a freaking super genius,
right?
Like supernaturally gifted. Let's not discount that, you know what I mean?
Right. And I think also like I meant to mention for the last chapter, like one of the things I really liked about that chapter is you got to like everybody gets a chance to shine. Like Lara in the last few chapters has been using her supernatural ability. Jaden in the last chapter gets the chance to really show off like his supernatural ability and like the value and the like strength that he has. So it's like what part of it goes back to what you were saying of like we're showing the team kind of like solidifying and them really all coming into their own, and then at the same time Amari is kind of like, I wouldn't say she's fully isolating herself, like I wouldn't say that that's completely on her, but the kind of narrative that keeps hearing is that it's up to her and her only. And so she's like internalizing that while her friends are like consistently backing her up and like being there with her. So it's just an interesting kind of like contrast, I guess.
I want to add one thing. When it comes to Hannah and Lucas, are we getting like an Amari Jaden situation? I'm feeling puppy love here in the way that like, I mean, there's a little bit of the like Elsie Amari, like I'm not gonna just leave my best friend, right? And Dylan kind of using the same threats that like Cosmo used on Elsie, on Amari about Elsie, on Lucas about Hannah.
Mhm.
But I was like, is there a little puppy love? And to the point where I was like, I can't even really be
I wasn't mad at Lucas. Like,
mad at him.
yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely wasn't mad at him. I understand the like.
You understand it completely.
Yeah, and it doesn't, and it again doesn't like negate all the help that he's given them.
Yeah.
It also
I
helps
do
that he
think
was
it's
basically like pushing like Amari out the way and being like, "Sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." Like he was like
Yeah.
apologizing as he was doing it.
yeah, like he's not actually. And then there's another thing I meant to add, but I forgot. Also, like the fact that it's Lara who has the like suspicion makes a lot of sense.
Oh yeah.
Like if anyone else was down there, they might not have got it right away.
This is true.
Yeah. So the next thing, this is the same day as the Sightless Deaths, by the way.
Crazy.
And like, which means it's
Crazy.
also the same
I
day that they
mean-
got, didn't they? Because I'm like, they escaped the bureau.
This is all the same
They
day.
explored the house. They got caught by the Nightwalkers. They came out. They realized
The
they had to
last
go to
time
the
they had
Sightless
sleep,
Depths. They got out of the Sightless Depths, realized they had to go to the Wonders, and then they like it's all the same day. They've only been on the run for the bureau for like 18 hours, maybe.
I wouldn't even say 18.
Yeah.
Well, maybe 18
Well,
because I don't know how long they've been in the Sightless Depths. They were down there for a
yeah.
minute, but yeah, they haven't had sleep since they finally like they got back into the bureau for the first time and got back in their dorms.
Right.
Yeah, I just want to like when Elsie and Jaden are like down, we gotta go down into the ground again. Nah.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, you're right.
It's real. It's very
Stay
real.
where the sunlight is. Don't even do it.
That does though bring me to like Lara backing Amari up really consistent, and not that they all haven't been, but I felt like these kind of like, especially the last two chapters, really kind of just like show the way that Lara has like fully like is fully down with Amari, you know what I mean, and is like fully committed to helping her and to them being partners and all of these things. And I also think it's a really interesting contrast to Dylan and his relationship with Amari, and just like the ways that the two of them are changing or like growing or developing, but just in like opposite directions.
Yeah, and I think it was important too to have like Amari and her new partner Lara confronting Dylan at that moment too. Like he's
They're
just
twins.
as like twins. Like Jesus Christ. They like the only twins I know that fight this. Never mind. I'm not gonna go there.
Yeah.
Bad picking up what I'm laying down. I'm not gonna go there now. But yeah, it just feels like a really interesting, like I don't know how many times I've forgotten that Amari does not have superpower, like our supernatural abilities right now. And so like I also think like Lara backing her up and like them being partners and like Lara using her supernatural abilities, but then when they're navigating this well, and like Amari, though she doesn't have magic, is still a born magician, so she's immune to a lot of this stuff, being able to kind of like back Lara up or like help Lara, but Lara not leaving her side. I love the whole like not loved it because they were going through it.
Yeah,
I would have loved it more if it was a training exercise as opposed to real life.
Exactly. But it's just like, again, that's like the different, you get to see the like different relationships between Amari and each of her friends, and them together, and them with each other, like Lara and Elsie, and like Jaden calling Elsie El Smooth. It's adorable. Like they just have their like, I think Jaden and Lara are the only two who we haven't yet really seen connect fully on page, but like, you know, she made sure he was safe in the Sightless Depths, like, you know what I mean? So there's still like a connection there, but I just like, just their friendship is very precious. So then I just wanted to note, because I didn't put in the summary, just like the Night Brothers studying the wonders, and one of the things they like say is that so it's like they figured out what each wonder does, but then there's like a curse or attached to each one, and the ones that they're able to kind of find a workaround for are the ones that they use, and then the rest of them they're just like, there is no workaround, don't use them. And so one, I think it's really interesting how like even they at a certain point are like, all right, we just there's nothing to do here, we're not trying to like power just for power's sake is not quite what we're getting at, as
But
opposed
imagine
to
how long it took them to do that. Like how
yeah,
stubborn they
absolutely,
are and how
yeah,
smart they think they are and how
it's
long they
definitely
probably try
like
to work
years
every
of
single situation out.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's definitely years of research, because like when they
Yeah.
first buy the lockless key, and it's like the Night Brothers as children, as like boys,
Kids.
who are
Yeah.
like, haha, nana boo boo, like we got them before you or whatever. So like, yeah, it just took a long time for them to like get all of that together. And then it's also a good, like Amari kind of has this contrast between them and Dylan, specifically around the Crown of Excess, where it kind of talks about how like if you use too much, or if the crown can absorb and like hold magic, but it like wears on the user's mind. And the way to combat that is to have apprentices to spread out that magic. And so that's like the reason for the League of Magicians, is to spread out that magic so that you can really Vladimir can wear the Crown of Excess. And then the time gem, like it's like to manipulate time means you forfeit your own, so you die. And so that's part of the reason why they created or found the vampire curse. It's why they became immortal, so that they could use the time gem. Which then makes me think that like Dylan also has been using that curse as well. Those are the two that we like see before Lucas turns up, but it's just so interesting, and like also world building wise is really cool to see.
I also like, that was the moment when I was like, oh, Dylan gonna die. Ooh. Not spoiler, because we don't know, but Dylan, he not gonna make it at the end of the 5th book for sure, if he keeps going the way in which he's going. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah. And then we already kind of touched on this, which was Dylan using Amari in part because of his like trauma in being in the Sightless Depths. Like he knew where dude was, but he's like, I'm not going, so got to find another way to to do that. And yeah, so that was just something I wanted to like point out or like call out. But yeah,
it's really interesting. I don't know. I get the sense of like, if Dylan was older or didn't have, I don't know, I guess if he's older, right? Because I feel like there's a thing too just about being this age and feeling like everything has to happen right now, and like not having that patience. Like you see how the Night Brothers had patience, like we were just talking about, right? To figure out what all these things are and study the wonders and like figure out the workarounds, and if there isn't a workaround, to not use it. And I'm like, a part of that I think is just like them naturally being what's the word I'm trying to think of, not cautious, I don't know if you can call that cautious, but patient maybe. And it was a different time. I don't think that magicians were like beloved or accepted at that, like at the time of the Night Brothers coming up, but they were definitely maybe not, they weren't feared, because the Night Brothers are the reason that they really started this, like the Bureau started to like really crack down and stuff, right? So they kind of had a little bit more, they could operate in the dark a little bit more, I guess, and operate without like a lot of like people going after them. And so partially like Dylan is like the most wanted person in the supernatural world, so he feels that kind of pressure. But I feel like if it was if Dylan was older going after these wonders and going through this thing, he might have still decided to use Amari, but there also would have been a there's like that thing of like, I mean, even Amari has it where she finds out about the knife and being like, well, that's, I'm going to figure out how to use it and persevere. Like Dylan being more like, I'm not going to let this fear control me, and I will get back to the setlist steps to get what I want. And instead he's like, nah, we'll use a pawn instead.
Yeah.
Right. So he's still controlled by that fear of the sightless steps, and also like that. And I think that fear kind of like holds power over him in a way that could it definitely plays a role in a lot of the decisions that he makes and how he decides to go about things.
I'm not discounting his trauma in saying this, but I'm saying it was a joke that I said to myself in my notes when I saw this happen, because I feel like this isn't the first time that we've seen Dylan use Amari as a means for him to do something, right? Like he's been using Amari for things like this. And so I just think, I was like, oh, it's very telling that Dylan, every time he makes numerous plans just in case, but it never fails to bet on Amari now, is it? You can always bet on Amari and you can always get what you want. And like, no, she's gonna go, her determination is gonna get to the winning solution, even though she has no plans. So like, as much as I've been this whole book coming for Amari and her lack of plans, Dylan had multiple plans, but the plan that worked out for him was, what's Amari doing? And you know what? That's winning, I can argue with that.
He's got 100% success rate with what's Amari doing. Where Amari going?
Right. Is he a white boy gaining off of the work of a black girl?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But what else is new under the sun?
True.
And then we get into chapter 30. So we left off with Moreau's image popping up. Well, he's there to introduce them all to the fact that he has set a Scarab spell for Dylan. Excuse me. In particular. And that Scarab spell has Scarabs just running amok, taking things apart. Everything's going down. And Dylan is scrambling. And he and Lucas move around quickly. Dylan quickly grabs the lens of increase and the mysterious horn, and they are up and through that portal in seconds. Because those scares were not going down, not even by magical fire. Like, they were immune to everything.
They were like immune to Dylan's magic in particular too, which I thought. Well, I mean, we'll get there, but I thought very interesting because
very ingenious.
Moreau clocked Dylan immediately.
He was like, "Oh, this kid is he's."
But also, I'm like, you know yourself. Like, he knew who he was at that age, so he knew what he was seeing when he was shaping Dylan.
He said, "This kid,
like, I don't know when, but you definitely gonna turn against me."
It's only a matter of time. So, they leave. Amari and Lara are left. Amari secretly pockets the nameless knife. They get upstairs. They find Elsie and Jaden gone, and they assume the worst. They're like, "Oh man, Dylan done got him. It's over. We need to get to the bureau ASAP." So they get to the bureau to find it vacated and hauntedly scary, and empty. They do a mad dash to the Department of Investigations, where they find Magnus, who's holding down a nearly empty monitoring bay, where you can see all of the screens are on a raid that is afoot. And guess who happens to be an audience member in the Department of Supernatural Investigations? If you guessed
this song will not go away,
Mama Van Helsing, you're incorrect. No, it's actually Harlow. And Harlow is not like a fun popcorn eating kind of audience member. No, she has to be part of the process, and it's annoying. She's very down with the raid that's is about to go down, because she feels away, and we're gonna get into that. And as they're trying to decipher her, why she's why the magicians let her go the way they did, and like what that might have to do with the trap that Dylan might spring. And like Magnus is like, well, we don't have all the information, so I'm gonna have to go with like letting Director Van Helsing and Quentin proceed with like leading the raid, because Director Van Helsing is like, bro, like I'm ready to go, like my son is up in here, I know he's clever, I gotta take him out now. Funny that you want to be a father now. You know what, we're gonna get to that later.
Also though, can we correct
well, yeah,
we want to get to that right
Van
now?
Helsing.
Exactly.
Right.
My man was demoted.
But like I don't even know what else to call him right now. Like
Agent.
He's not good director.
Agent,
I guess.
Former director is what was in the chapter. It's like former director.
Yeah.
I don't know, what is this man's first name? Matthew? I don't know.
We call him Daddy Van Helsing, you know?
Nope, we don't. We did the same. You did the same thing with Nick's dad in Legendborn.
Exactly.
And you have to just put a stop to it.
Exactly.
No.
Like, we let you do it once, we're not going to let you do it again, Robyn. No more.
Before they can decipher Dylan's trap, the agents get into motion, and wouldn't you know, Dylan's trap is sprung, and it's all thanks to Harlow and her motor mouth.
Can I just say though, all of these agents, Amari and Laura run in there immediately like, no, this is a trap.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what's happening, it's a trap. And then, like, within, like, just talking it through with Amari and Laura for 5 minutes, they kind of figure out what the trap is.
I feel like part of it has to do with the fact that they were actually at the cabin or whatever.
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean? And it goes back to, like, Quentin should have been listening to, like, Amari and them have had intel and like valuable information this whole time that like Quentin and the rest of the bureau, well, really, yes, Van Helsing refused to listen to. And now when it could be helpful,
when they refused to send people with them to go to the cabin, so they went by themselves. They refused to listen to Amari. By themselves. Yeah. They then end up taking the site, like, well, also when they went to the cabin, that's how they got the lockless key. That's how they figured out more about the wonders, like where to go, a bunch of these things. And like, had they just worked together better, they still would have, I think they still would have ended up here, but they would have ended up here with
better positioning.
Yeah. Bring some earplugs.
Right.
Take some decoy freaking agents with you. Like, don't take a small route. Don't take everybody.
And I mean, we don't know, because I think Hannah maybe. Someone does Lucas have illusion magic? I thought Hannah might. I thought one of them did. I'm not 100%.
Hannah had the tech. She had
tech magic. Yeah, but you know they each have like kind of a two thing, because like Amari had illusions, and
I'm trying to remember what the
weather.
Maybe the illusion. I just remember the tech magic. Honestly.
Yeah, and Dylan had like the freezing thing. I feel like Lucas might have had illusion magic. I'm not sure, but like this goes all the way back to like we were saying, that first thing where Quentin was like, no, we don't trust them, and we're not gonna go help them, and then Amari and them went by themselves. Like, had they teamed up with them, figured out this other trap, they could have used some illusion magic to send in fake agents.
Or Hannah wouldn't have got caught in the first place.
Right. You know?
Yeah, but my thing is like, coulda, shoulda, woulda. But I feel like most of this is all on the hubris and ego of the Van Helsings, and I'm including Maria in this, because like, yeah, like Quentin, I feel like what's happening is that he's falling clutch to the adult problem, that like once you hit a certain age, you're like, oh, I'm going to listen to the adults on this and not really pay attention to what the kids are saying, kind of thing. Like, and so I think that Maria and the former director Van Helsing are in a place where they're like, well, we know Dylan, he's our family member. Like, of course we know. Like, we could like there's something that he's gonna do that we couldn't figure out, right? And it's like, that's your ego.
You didn't
because
even know
you didn't know this boy was going
when
through
he
what
was
he was
in this
going
house.
through.
You didn't
Yeah.
know
He was in
your
your
daughter
house.
was a magician. You didn't know your son was a born magician. You don't know nothing.
You don't know nothing.
Nothing.
But you over here thinking, oh, I have a pop up on my son's trap. Like, obviously it's a trap, but he don't throw nothing that I can't handle. Are you serious? You
Have you not been paying
handle
attention?
the fact that you're going to disown most of your children only last year. Are you serious?
You couldn't handle parenting, full stop, but you can
Full
handle
stop.
this.
You can't handle decor. Let's start there.
No, for real.
You can't handle decor is so real.
Don't step to me. Rich people, horrible taste. Can't play with it. Okay. Let's get into some of my notes from the chapter. So 1, unscrupulous people always suspect others of similar behavior. So Moreau's trap for Dylan is like so predictable. Like, not only because Dylan was his apprentice and so he knows Dylan personally, but the fact that he was able to be like, no, I know how like low morals that Dylan has, so I already know what I gotta put in store for him to like get up out of my stuff.
And the fact that he said, like, this is why do you think I would, like, I trusted my apprentice, but I never trusted you with, like, the location.
But he didn't even
And the
trust
fact that, like, his
He trusted
apprentice
the
couldn't have
apprentice's
gotten it
magic.
even if he knew where it was.
Exactly.
So
He was like,
yeah.
well, I'm saying he trusted his apprentice with the location, knowing that, like,
Ain't
even
nobody
if he
gonna
would have
go.
double crossed
Yeah.
him, he couldn't have gotten there.
Yeah.
But it's also like, there's that one moment when he was like, oh no, I tuned the Beatles specifically to your magic. Like, crazy.
Like knows like is all I can say.
It's true. And he said, either I'm still alive or you killed me, but either way I knew you was coming.
You gonna get it either way. You ain't safe. I will catch you from beyond the grave. I have all the contingencies planned for. You're welcome. Have a nice day. My next note is that Amari preparing to jump on the grenade, like another Marvel reference, by keeping the knife knowledge to herself.
Yeah.
Like we mentioned earlier, it's like very reminiscent of the dynamics that she detests from like Quentin and like withholding information and stuff. But it's also just like the fact that she's immediately ready to go there after witnessing in the previous chapter, like each of her friends showcase their like talents, right? Like it's like, baby girl, you don't have to be in this by yourself, but also, what would this like? Is this going to endear you to anybody, knowing that you're like, oh, I'm willing to just like fade into nothing? Like, that's scary. And it takes her a minute to get there, but she's like, I got it in my back pocket. And it's sad. Like, it tells a lot about her mental state is where I am. Like, there's a lot going on here. And like the fact that it's like very poetic or ironic, I suppose, that she left a place where she could have received some healing only to step forward making decisions that show that she really needs that healing like immediately.
Yeah.
I think that, and it's like in her, like, you know, she started off like, oh, that's not going to be my fate, and then she read the description of the dagger and was like, dang, this is going to be my fate, and then just left it at that, as opposed to, again, like you're saying, like telling somebody. And like I know that the part of it is also like the risk of someone else taking that task over for her. So I know that that's part of it too, is like choosing in some way she is also choosing her friends.
Yeah.
But not over the fate of the world, more just like over herself.
It's really funny, like, because of earlier on when she's talking to Laura and stuff, and she was saying like she couldn't stand to lose her friends, and if she had to make the choice between saving her friends or saving the world, she doesn't know what choice she would make. And it's sad that she thinks that she doesn't put her, like, she doesn't think the same about her friends, I guess, is what, or she doesn't give her friends the same thing. Like, do you think Elsie would have an easy time making that choice between saving the world and saving you, Amari? Like, is that why you're trying to take that choice away from her? Or, you know what I mean? Like, like your friends are important to you, yes, but you're important to your friends. Like, yeah, they always have your back, and like she appreciates that, but I don't know if she really like has internalized that who she is, like, holistically, is important.
I mean,
even
Jaden says it.
Jaden, yeah, exactly. Like, Jaden tells her 2 chapters ago, like, in plain words. And yeah, maybe it's like you were saying too, like, she won't let herself think that, or she won't even let herself go there, but like, it's a really sad thing.
So this is my fun having read the end of this book kind of question notation was like, where are Jaden and Elsie? Because like, and when I first read the book, I was like, oh, this might be a setup for the, you know how we always leave a book in a series with a cliffhanger, and I was like, is that gonna be the like book 3 cliffhanger that we're gonna figure out where Jaden and Elsie are, because Dylan is a bit more testy than we think he is. So, acting as if you don't know the ending of this book, where would you like to wildly speculate that Jaden and Elsie could be in this moment where we don't know where they are?
One of the Sasquatch layers.
Ooh.
Legit.
Nice.
I thought maybe they were in the forest that was around the well, but like in like a tree house or something, and they like got stuck in like a dimension. They were like, "Oh crap, we just came to explore this this random animal led us here through Jaden, and now we're stuck in this weird treehouse dimension." I don't know, bro.
Yeah, I was thinking like, some kind of like creature who, you know, I don't know. I'm thinking like, mole type of creature or something is like telling Jaden, oh, hey, I know where that magician that you guys are looking for went, or something. You know what I mean? Like, kind of like they followed a fairy or something like that, and they end up on their own trail trying to save Amari.
I like all these options, but that's not what we're gonna get. But I like the options. And then finally, I can't leave this chapter without talking about the ridiculousness that is Harlow, because
girl,
homegirl said, basically, I'm paraphrasing because I wrote, she's so ridiculous, I don't want to read her words. It's just ridiculous. So whenever they're talking and debating about the fact that Dylan definitely set a trap and they're definitely walking into it, Harlow's like, look, now I don't care nothing about no trap or nothing like that. When I was sitting there with the magicians, those filthy magicians, they were mocking me and my powers. They were like, yeah, girl, why don't you keep telling us commands? And I was like, and I sure will. And I kept doing it. And then, you know what? I'm happy that I'm leading you directly to their lair, because how dare they mock me and my powers? And like, how I find it laughable, but it's also very sad and messed up, because homegirl is like, and I'm not a psychiatrist, so I should not diagnose anyone, but she has to be a narcissist. Like, what is going on, baby?
Yeah. Like, you're just, what is the point that you're trying to make?
And you should never hold power, because if you're willing to send people to a possibly fatal mission, all because of your pride getting hurt because someone mocked you,
right,
baby, you should
like never. You sent how many magicians to prison unwanted?
Right.
Have them all on the run.
Just because of ego.
And they mocked you? Ooh. How
and
dare.
Freaking like xenophobia. Get out of here. So yeah, Harlow, a real piece of work. That should be her tagline.
Cool. So who is MVP?
I MVP'd the whole crew, with possible exception, of Amari, Elsie. Amari, Elsie, Jaden. I want to give a special shout out to Peekaboo because Peekaboo basically pulled a principal from Mean Girls moment. He said, "I did not leave Chamberlain Manor for this." Oh, hex to the no. Immediately, as soon as he popped up, he said, hex no. And we need real ones like that. I need someone to step into a situation like Peekaboo was like, "I'm the only one who gets to haunt my hauntie. You cannot be serious." Absolutely not. And I love it. And then maybe Laura can get a little bit, she helped things. She used her privilege as special abilities that she has in, like, being a rich girl. She's been using them for good, and that's what we ask of privileged folk. So, give her a little something. I don't know, special dessert or something. I don't know.
It's so funny that you're just like, nah. I It's hilarious.
And I also just want to give an honorable mention real quick to Anansi and Aradne, but also slightly Director Horace. But for Anansi and Aradne, I just wanted to note that the way that Anansi spoke about her was very much like he spoke about how they both were like misunderstood spider beings, but how she like means so much to him, and basically it's like a love story. And so in my brain, I took it as like, imagine thinking that you speak as directly as possible to people, but only for them all to say that you speak in riddles. And then one day you meet someone who gets you so well that they can interpret you for others. And that's basically what we get in the story of Arachne and Anansi. Is that like whenever Amari is going to get her story right or whatever, Anansi is someone who created it, but Arachne is the one that interprets it for Amari. And I'm like, that is such a cool love story where you're like, because I feel like the Anansi story is like, everyone is like, oh, he's a trickster, he's a jokester. But imagine if you like, he's not trying to trick people. He's honestly just, that's the way words come out of his mouth, like Yoda. And he's just like, no one gets me. And then one day Arachne shows up and is like, bro, I got you. And it just, that's so cute to me. So,
and I also like that it's like part of their introduction too.
Yeah.
So I also MVP'd the crew, and then I was doing a special shout out to Porshèa for being open-minded, because when I was seeing this, I thought that she put Laura, but then she just went in circles to try to not acknowledge that she needed to MVP Laura as a part of the crew, and that Laura is a part of the crew. So I don't know if I can give her a special shout out anymore.
I mean, she did it in the end.
I did it. I acknowledge she's part of the crew. And that she used her privilege. She just gets a bit of a cookie, not a full cookie. She gets a mini cookie.
So Porshèa gets a bit of a cookie and not a full cookie for being open-minded, but the crew gets all of the MVP.
Speaking of Laura, because I MVP'd all of them last time, I was like, let me try to like narrow it. And so I made Laura my MVP.
And she deserves,
just for the way that she like backed Amari up. I feel like in this like kind of stretch of chapters, like obviously there were moments with Jaden and Elsie, but I just felt like those moments between Laura and Amari, and even Laura and Elsie, but just like I felt like those were like really pivotal moments for Laura's character. And then also like going into my bench, it was also the like kind of contrast between her and Dylan, who I benched. So
yeah,
but really all of them, they're Amari and her friends are great.
They're clicking on all cylinders at the right time. They're peaking at the right time. I wish it would. Yeah, never mind. I'm gonna make myself sad again. I benched the Goblin King, and I know that like he doesn't even really show up, but he's only mentioned in like the first chapter. But the mention was so awful.
Yeah,
it stuck with me. And then I also benched Dylan.
I just want to say for Goblin King, I feel like his almost appearance means that we're probably going to get a full appearance sometime in the series, because he's going to want to settle that score. Like, he's the
there's
king.
no way he's not.
He's going to have to settle that.
I hope not. I hope not. But, who's to say? Who's to say?
I mean, at least then we could figure out what his deal is. Like, why is he... What is going on here?
What is the agreement? What's the official agreement between the Bureau and the Goblin King? I want to know.
What's happening here?
Yeah. I also had a special honorable mention to Harlow for Porshèa basically went through it, but girl, they made fun of you. Okay. Here's a violin.
Picture me a charade with
it wasn't even that bad. They weren't.
No.
They literally abducted her. They could have been physically torturing her. They
girl, all she had to do was sit. She
had to sit there and have them laugh because her power didn't work. She said words, and they were like, "Oh, that didn't work." Ha ha ha. If you do not,
ridiculous.
That's how I know you have not been teased worse in your life. You did not go. You did not go through high school with regular kids.
Amari had her magic stolen, and you want her to feel bad for you? Please.
Amari's brother was missing. The director and the rest of the supernatural world were looking at her like she was top villain number 1 just because she had magical powers.
And also, Harlow also neglected to mention that after they made fun of her and Amari came to rescue her, she forced Amari to do her bidding. You ain't learned nothing.
And it's not like she was it wasn't like they were making fun of her because she was doing something dumb, which she was doing something dumb, but she was there. She was trying to control them. You were trying to control people, and you're upset because you could not control people, and instead they laughed.
How dare they? I guess.
Messed up. She is seriously messed up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I benched Dylan and Director Van Helsing, former Director Van Helsing, because I don't know the man's first name, but once I do know it, please know that he will be called that. Because they need to get it, and I feel like it's very obvious why. I've made my reasons for why he that man, the father, needs to go. Dylan clearly using Lucas was a low blow, and using Hannah against Lucas was a blow. So all of it. I know he's gonna always go low, but dang it, Dylan, seriously. And then while I'm here in this benched and MVP place, I just because I won't be here for next episode, I want to throw up that I'm going to bench proactively Cosmo, because even though we don't see a lot from him, I feel like one of the first things we're going to see next book is him being a menace. And I'm preemptively benching him. And of course I am MVPing Magnus because I feel like Amari would like me to MVP Magnus, and I shall.
Okay. Thank you for listening. Join us next week when we discuss chapters 31 through 32. That's right? No.
Yeah. There's only 2 more episodes or 2 more chapters. Yeah.
Oh God. Oh God. Oh God. Want to join us live? Become a BNC baddie and join our live recordings on Sundays at 2 p.m. Pacific time.
Wizard Team is part of the Black Nerds Create Collective. If you want to keep up with our content, you can check out our website at blacknerdscreate.com. Follow us on Instagram and Tumblr at Wizard Team Pod and at Black Nerds Create.